Welcome. What we're talking about today is how to take care of ourselves amidst the chaos. I think today's a great example of that. How when life is busy, when we're feeling overwhelmed, the first thing, and I don't know about you, tell me in the comments what you think. Here's the question of the day. When you get stressed and overwhelmed, do you continue to take care of yourself so that you can manage, or do you throw self-care out the window? I want to know. Tell me in the comments, is it A or is it B? I personally tend to throw self-care out the window, and that's a problem because it's our self-care that's going to help us do the things we're trying to do, right? So what I've done today is brought on a specialist in this particular topic, and I'm going to bring her on right now so that you can meet her. Her name is Cheryl Wolf. Welcome to the show. I'm thrilled to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be doing this with you, Susan. We've been in each other's world for so long
Mhm.
that this is fun that we get to do this together. So, yeah, I'm
I
excited about
agree.
today.
I agree. I feel the same way. Absolutely. It's just, I was like, so for anybody who's new to this channel, and honestly, this channel is new to this channel, it's brand new. What I'm going to be doing from here on is lives almost every week. And during those lives, I'm going to usually have guests. And Cheryl has the honor of being my first guest. I'm thrilled to have you here. I want to share with you all a little bit about who Cheryl is. Oh, we have Marcus in the chat. Hello, Marcus. Welcome. Marcus says he's not good with self-care in any case, and I hear you. I go through those windows too. And he says hello to Cheryl. So I'm going to share with all of you Cheryl's bio really quick, just to kind of get us on tap with why have we invited Cheryl to be here today. So Cheryl is a holistic health coach. In her previous career, I'm reading this. I admit it. I'm reading this. In her previous career, Cheryl ran a successful hair business in 4 different states. That sounds like very successful. Over those years, she talked with thousands of people and learned a lot about what helps them feel their best. Then, less than 10 years ago, Cheryl received the news that she had a serious illness. Cheryl looked at her health and life and decided to make some important changes. She let go, ultimately, of 45 pounds without yet another crazy diet. That experience is what inspired her to return to university, where she became a holistic health and wellness coach. Today, Cheryl is devoted to helping others to find their best selves, to let go of the weight in their body, as well as in their mind and in their spirit. She does this through one-on-one and workshops and more. Cheryl is excited about life and loves experimenting. I can attest to that. That's absolutely true about Cheryl. Mostly she loves connecting with others and finding inspiration and gratitude in those connections. I am excited, Cheryl, to have you connecting with us here today. So fantastic. And Cheryl French is in the comments and says hello. So hello, Cheryl. Today's the Cheryl Show.
Oh.
Oh, so I've got lots and lots of questions for you, Cheryl, but let's start. And this is going to be a very organic conversation, even though I do have
Oh, yeah.
notes. But here's my question for you, Cheryl, before we begin. This is a place where we help introverts and ambiverts learn how to thrive in their business world. So my first question, Cheryl, is are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm a Cherylvert, which I learned from you. So I am more of an ambivert. When I took the test, and it was interesting because I found out, like, I discovered I was an introvert from listening to you.
Mhm.
And so we worked together and I found out, oh yes, so I can go between doing what I need to do when I'm in public, but I also find that because of that, it can drain me. And so I can have all my people time, but then to recharge, I spend time alone or, in quieter places.
Mhm. And for anybody who's watching who doesn't know, an ambivert is halfway between an introvert and an extrovert. And I personally am an ambivert with a very strong leaning introverted side. And it sounds, Cheryl, like that's what you're talking about as well, which is as much as you land someplace in the middle, which gives us kind of a little bit more access to both sides, that introverted side needs to be served.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So,
Yeah, and I think it's a part of getting to know ourselves. I mean, and I think that's, the more we understand ourselves better, the
mhm,
more we feel better
mhm.
because we're like, "Oh, I understand myself. I
Yeah.
understand how I work."
And therefore I can work with that. That probably plays into your work, actually helping people understand what they personally uniquely need. Does that sound right?
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
and I also want to say, so Cheryl Vert, which we're throwing around, there was a conversation that I had on a live. I used to do a lot of Facebook lives, and there was a conversation in there. There was a few years in there, but someplace in there we had a conversation. I was talking about how we can classify ourselves as introverts, extroverts, or ambiverts, but actually where we land on that continuum, it's a spectrum. Where we land on there is unique to us, and so we could classify and put ourselves these labels on it, but really we're just being exactly who we're being, and that's where things like Cheryl Vert, Susan Vert, Marcus Vert came out of that conversation. But it can be very freeing, I think, to realize that you are just who you are. Cheryl, my question for you regarding today's topic, which is, when things get chaotic, and we tend to, in fact, let's ask the question. We have some audience members looking for my button here. Question of the day is, when you get stressed or overwhelmed, do you lean into taking care of yourself, or do you throw self-care out the window? Give us an A or B in the comments so we know where you land. But my question for you, Cheryl, is what do you see? Do you see people tending to land in this place where they throw it out the window, or what do you see in that regard?
Yeah, I think most of the time, it's because our brain wants to keep us safe. And overwhelm is seems dangerous to the brain. So it's wanting to keep you safe so you do nothing. So
Mm,
you hide. So it's kind of recognizing what that is when you feel overwhelmed. Is your mind spinning? Are you tired? Are you getting headaches? What is the cue that means to you that you're overwhelmed? So knowing what that is ahead of time is kind of helpful.
interesting. And I mean, I can say, when I got 5 projects, but I hear you saying, look internally, that how are you responding to those things that you're working on, right? So I never do 5 projects. I don't let myself. I'll do 2 or 3 or something. But that's a great point. When I'm starting to show up, or when any of us are starting to, can you hear it? I'm like, give me the advice. When I'm not sleeping, or when I wander I'm overwhelmed, so I get up and I wander to the kitchen. I'm like, what else can I eat? And I just ate lunch.
Yes.
It's not just
Yes.
I'm stuck, but oh, what does this mean about how I'm feeling about what I'm working on? That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's like we use that word, it's thrown out almost too much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm overwhelmed. Okay, but my overwhelm looks different than your overwhelm.
Hmm.
And the biggest thing is that we're living inside our head typically.
Hmm.
And that's where the stress is. And so you're like, "Oh, I've got all these things I've got to do. I gotta." So, where are we questioning that belief? Where can we put cracks in that belief that what we're saying, has to be done?
Hmm. Hmm. I like that. That should aspect, right? We need to stop shooting ourselves anyway. And those are probably places where we really are shooting ourselves. So I really like that phrase a lot. Marcus says he tries to take a step back and assess this. You know what? We're playing with text. We're playing with my setup here today. So let's pop this guy and see how it shows up. Bloop. Hey, look at that. Center it. So, oops. Okay, centering not working. There we go. I try to take a step back and assess the situation. Usually I can improve it just with changing the perspective. That's awesome. That's a good one. I like that. And Cheryl says, good point about how we try to keep ourselves safe. Nice, nice. That's powerful. Press the right button. Awesome. And then Marcus just popped this in as well. Stress is subjective. It depends on our baseline. Right. So, Cheryl, can you speak to that about how it's different for each of us? I mean, how do we deal with that? How do you dispense advice when it's different for each of us?
Yeah, I think the first thing, because I know and I've experienced plenty of stress and overwhelm in my life,
Hmm.
that shutdown is my first cue. When I when everything starts getting grouchy and I can't think, or I'm playing that thought over and over and over in my mind, or I'm rummaging through the cabinet where something yummy, to ease my mind. It's that cue to say, okay, wait a minute, I'm totally out of my body. So, the first thing, no matter how you handle it, the first thing you can do is just take a breath. And the other thing too is that, if you touch your fingers, that's a so start getting your senses involved. So you're taking a breath, maybe you're noticing the ridges on your fingers.
Hmm.
You're going to look somewhere in front of you. What can you focus on? And just breathe. But one of the quick ones to calm you down is the breathing in twice through your nose and then once, a full breath out of your mouth. But notice when you're, just sitting and breathing, are you breathing up here? Are you in your chest, or are you breathing all the way down into your belly? Because that's another thing. If you're shallow breathing, that's in your chest, and full breath is all the way down into your belly. So a quick breath in, two breaths in to your nose, and then and open your mouth. And do that a few times, and it'll
Okay.
bring kind of you down really quick.
Okay. So that really kind of thing to, and then I like it. Or
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes
It was
it'll make me sneeze. So if you
a
sneeze, it's okay.
It's okay. You're just letting it out. It really wanted to come out. I think that that's powerful. Okay, so those are things that we can do like in the moment to kind of create some awareness and maybe even calm us down a little bit, do you think?
Yeah, just take it down a notch so that you can then go to the next. What is the next thing? And, sometimes the best thing you can do is take a break from
Hmm.
what you're doing. It's like staring at that math problem. It's like, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. And you walk away and then you come
Yeah.
back to it. You're like, oh, there it is.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Like, you're not maybe going anywhere with what you're trying to do. So maybe giving yourself that 5 minutes, go outside, jump around, go for a quick walk, something
Yeah. So you're
to
allowing
get
us to
out of that
process.
situation.
We're allowing ourselves to process the situation, it sounds like, and catch up with what's happening. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
So awesome, awesome. Cheryl's got a great question. Cheryl asked, "Did you experience a shift after your serious illness as far as not letting everyday stress get to you as much?" So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it is whenever anyone has something scary or frightening that happens in their health or their life, it changes you. But the funny thing is, that doesn't stay. You have to remind yourself. And I
Yeah.
think what is the quickest thing that we can be grateful for, and pretty much every day, if I put my feet on the floor, I'm like, yep, I got this,
Mm, mm.
you know?
That's interesting. Also, putting literally putting your feet on the floor and kind of grounding yourself is probably another thing that we can do in those moments.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're not going to talk in detail about this, but I experienced some serious illness in my own life just a few years ago. It totally threw me off, and I've had to kind of come back from it. And, Cheryl was asking, did you experience a shift after that? And I know I experienced some time of grief because I had to be like, okay, what I used to do is different from what it's going to look going forward. And there was a lot of question about what I could even do. And we're not going to talk about this in length today. That's a topic for another day, 100%. But that idea, I just want to speak to that idea of shifting our perspective, not just in those moments, but maybe even now in anticipation of we're going to hurt ourselves if we don't take care of ourselves. I think that that's just an interesting idea to shift our thoughts. Do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, I think that when we're talking about limiting. And, it's like life will never be the same. My
Hmm.
life will never be the same. Your life will never be the same whenever you've had something like that. But we tend to have like an expectation or it's gonna, oh gosh, it's not gonna be the same. So that fear of the unknown of what's coming
Hmm.
can be very frightening.
Hmm.
And we do have to honor our fears and whatever they are, and whatever those feelings that come up, they're not
Yeah.
bad. And we don't like negative feelings, but they're not bad.
That's a really interesting. We don't like negative feelings, but they're not bad. I think I mean, in fact, they serve us in a lot of ways, and we need to be aware of them so that we can make important changes. So I like that. I like that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to like sit on that one. Cheryl says, I find myself, you were talking about the breathing. Cheryl says, I find myself shallow breathing a lot nowadays, but I try to notice and just breathe more deeply, right? Just that there's a lot of power just in that noticing, it sounds like, about where we are in those circumstances.
Yeah, I think a lot of it really is that body awareness. I can remember I had some back problems and I went to a physical therapist, and because I was standing all day, she said, "Are you standing like one hip? Are you leaning on one side?" And I thought, "Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe I am." And so I had to start being very conscious in the early part of standing, making sure I was putting weight on both feet, standing, lifting from the
Mm-hmm.
core, and, really paying attention. So when you
Attention.
first start
Yeah.
noticing and paying attention to your body, are you noticing, are your shoulders up? Are
Mm-hmm.
you like, is that what you do when you get tense?
Mm-hmm.
How does, coming back in and going, okay, how's my body feeling? Where do I feel that tension?
Yeah.
It really serves us because the body and the mind are totally
Yeah.
want to be friends.
Well, and one of the things, again, we're looking inward when the outward aspect of our lives is causing us stress. And what's interesting is, I think, from my observation, is, as humans, our first move is to look outward. Okay, what's going
Oh,
on and what do I need to fix? And I think it's because it's harder to fix the inside stuff.
yeah, and I think the thing and the word fix isn't
Hmm.
right. You're perfect just as you are. And I think that that's the thing that, we've been trained. It's like, I got to fix this. I got to solve this. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
sometimes we need to sit with it and
Mhm.
we need to decide for ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're not fixing anything, we're just improving.
Adjusting, finding a place of comfort if that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the thing I really wanted to have this conversation, wanted to have this. I'm just resetting the room here really quickly. The thing I wanted to talk about today was, especially when things get stressful, and we need to take care of ourselves. We often are not. We're often throwing that out the window so that we can focus, and then we'll get back to that. Except we never do get back to that when it actually just throws us off. And that would have helped us do the thing better if we'd have stayed on tap. So, it sounds like step one is, in those moments, notice. Just notice who
Mm.
you are, what you're doing, what's going on. My question is, when we have put, again, definitely looking for ideas here, when we've put our self care on hold, or we typically do, other than don't do that, what else can we do to help make sure we're taking care of ourselves in moments of overwhelm?
Yeah, I think I have a perfect example. We're never going to do it perfectly every time. And I was thinking back at, times that I've fallen off my self care. Um, and, I've taken breaks. The thing is that it is again that noticing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
whoo, wow, I haven't gone and walked, or I haven't done these things. I haven't slept well enough. It really is just like you're solving a problem. You're looking at yourself because we want to look outside. It's so much easier to look outside ourselves
Mm-hmm.
than to look inside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But I also think if you take a break from self-care, that's perfectly normal.
Yeah, it's normal. Absolutely. I mean, I think so many of us do
Yeah.
it. It better be normal. um, so what can I do? What can we do? We're in the midst of it. We've put ourselves aside. We're in the chaos. We're still under the gun. There's and what does that look like from a marketing standpoint? I have 5 things that need to happen this week and every week. Or we have a project at hand, or we brought somebody new on that we're doing work with, or our boss just gave, if people have a boss, our boss just gave us a new thing that we're like, it doesn't even fit into my life, and yet here I am. In those situations where we've chosen to put it aside, other than go back and get started again, do you have any recommendations for how we can slip self-care in when we don't feel like we have room for it?
Yeah, I think that the misconception of time, because we always want more time. We want, or the time is short.
Mm-hmm.
These are stories we're telling ourselves. Because if you took 2 minutes and say you're at an office and ran to the bathroom and just did some quick breathing, grab some, I like doTERRA, grab some essential oil that smells lovely,
Mm-hmm.
and something that quickly can calm you down. Because
Oh.
it's a realization that you have as much time as you give yourself. That time pressure is something we put on ourselves. So why not like question that, or um, think maybe there's another way. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do this that fast. Why do I believe? It's that belief thing, the belief in the stories. So most of the stress and the time constraints really aren't from your boss or outside sources. They're the stories we're telling ourselves, or the belief that it has to be this way. And what would 5 minutes away from that stress do?
There's something you just said that just went in my head, and here's what it is. It's and you said before, the story we're telling ourselves about time, the idea of what self-care looks like and how much time self-care takes. It's self-care is not doesn't have to be just, okay, I need to make sure I get on my bike for an hour.
Right.
Self-care in those moments of stress, when we've a way, when we've put it to the side, a way of pulling it back is to take literally 2 minutes, is what I hear you
Yep.
saying.
Yep.
That's
Because
not
we
what I was
think,
expecting to hear.
because we think it's supposed to be. We think these are stories. We've been told these things. You need to do these things in order to feel better. Okay, but think about when you're feeling good, when you feel really good. Oh my gosh, you want to capture that in a bottle. But you can go to your beautiful place. We know it from, I'm trying to think of where it comes from, but you can think of a place that you've been before,
Mhm.
a peaceful place. Maybe it's the mountains, maybe it's the beach, maybe it's something else. But you can envision that place that you've been before and go there in an instant.
Okay, interesting. So I want to share this with you. Um, when I struggle to sleep at night, if I realize that I'm having trouble, I literally close my eyes, put myself on a beach. And it's not a beach I've ever even been on. It might be a beach I want to go to, right? But I know what the sand feels like under my feet, and I know what the ocean sounds like. And this goes back to just a few minutes ago when you were talking about this haptics, this touch, bringing the touch sense into, is I literally, when I'm at night, if I can't sleep, I'll put myself walking on the beach, and I'll hear the waves, and the next morning, that's the last thing I remember. And I don't know if my mind wandered or not, but those are the things I remember the day before, the next day, because it's about detaching from our lives and putting ourselves in a place that does bring a certain emotion of joy and restfulness.
Yeah,
And it sounds like you're supporting that in more than
that's
just, gee, I'm trying to
perfect.
go to sleep.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so it's what I call a mind vacation. Like, we all need a mind vacation. Our
Mhm.
minds are going, we think they're computers now because there's so many things happening so
Mhm.
fast. We're constantly being drawn. But how much are you spending time quiet alone with you?
Yeah.
Probably very
Yeah.
little.
And we're talking, especially around here, to introverts and ambiverts who need downtime. And I'm not saying I'm against this at all. We usually are saying, I need a day, I need 3 days. But what I think
Right.
we're also saying is, even though you need a day or how many days or whatever time you need, that does not mean that you can't, in the moment, literally grab 2 minutes and 2 minutes of yoga, 2 minutes of breathing, 2 minutes of walking around, go outside, right? And
Yeah.
and grab that time. That's I love, and that might even help us gain some of our energy back. It sounds like so.
Exactly,
Oh,
and you can just do the bouncing. Like, that seems really, I know people see me show up for things and I'm
hmm, you're
bouncing and they're
bouncing,
like, "What are
yeah.
you doing?" But I'm just getting my body to release stuff.
Okay,
And it
okay.
feels good. It feels good. It's like an orange.
Hmm.
What does it feel like? What
Hmm.
does it smell like? I mean, that these can be, if you can't go somewhere, think of something that is a smell that you love. What's a
Hmm.
song that you're like, oh
Nice,
man, every time I hear that song, you know,
nice,
put that on. So it really is, that's all self care.
nice. And that the idea that we can slip it in a minute or two or 5 minutes window or something like that. That's like a huge takeaway because I think that's something we don't think about. I think we think, like I was saying, I think, I need to get on my bike. I need to go for, an hour walk. And actually, I could go for a 5 minute walk, and that counts. And I think us choosing to let that count and that not be, that's, because this isn't about fitness. This is about self care.
Mhm.
And there's a difference. This is a difference I hadn't even really noticed. It's an
Yeah, I mean, I
important
think
distinction.
right. And then, really having that. What is your morning routine? What sets you up so that you can have the best day? So, what are the things that will set you up? I like to move my body in the morning. That helps me to have energy through the day. I like to journal because that also helps me. So, what are the things that set you up in the beginning of the day, and how do you end your day? And those things are so important for the whole day. So, if you didn't sleep well, you're like,
Hmm.
oh, I can't. And
Yeah.
I know sleep is a big one for me.
Yeah,
Um,
same. And if I haven't slept well, my first move, I've removed most of the caffeine from my life. And my first move, if I haven't slept well, is okay. Where's the caffeine?
yeah. And
So,
some people, that's what they live on. They live on caffeinated drinks all
yeah,
day.
yeah,
And so, yeah, it's hard.
yeah. That's actually something I've learned because I've gotten off caffeine. When I bring caffeine in, I'm like, bam, I'm like, let's go. And I'm like totally jamming because if you're used to it, it doesn't give you that lift. But if you're not used to it, it's like, I'm just like, so same with
But what
sugar.
is
Same with
like,
sugar.
and what's the first? I mean, the thing to really get your body moving and energy in the day is drink a full glass of water when you wake up.
Mm.
Like, that's going to get everything moving and
How
everything
much is a
waking up.
full glass? Are we talking 8 ounces, 16? What are we
At
looking at?
least eight
At
ounces
least eight.
of
Okay.
water.
Okay.
Yeah.
No sipping. No sipping. Get that puppy down.
No,
Okay.
they drink it. And this is, I sip on water,
Hmm.
all day, but in between, I'll drink a full glass because I
Yeah.
don't always have time to get all that water in.
Yeah.
But the water, it's going to help you. You
Hmm.
might have slight muscle aches or a nagging headache, and it might be that you just need some water.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Nice. I do want to say hello to Sarah. I'm not sure if she's still here, but she stopped by. She stopped by to say hello, and let's pop her in here. Hey, there she is. But she'll watch later. I encourage everyone to watch later. Absolutely. I think that's fine, especially because we had to restart, which was a mess, and that's fine. I'm just glad everybody found us. I don't think I shared this, but I wanted to. And this is in line with. So Cheryl says, Time expands when I do my 10 minutes of yoga in the mornings, and when I'm tempted to skip it, I remind myself that it makes a difference in my day. I love that. Thank you, Cheryl, for sharing that. And that speaks to, it doesn't have to be, I have this impression it has to, and this, I have this impression because I am historically an athlete and I'm trying to find my way back there. And so working out, you don't do something in 5 or 10 minutes, you do something in 1 or 2 hours. And that's not what we're talking about here. And that distinction is just like, so.
Yeah, I think because we're always looking for more time, but it's also what do we choose to spend our time on?
Mm-hmm.
And, where do we choose to place our focus
Mm-hmm.
for that? And there are people that work out twice a day, and that's great. If that brings you joy. For me, I have to do something. It doesn't have to be a long something, but I have to do something to move my body
Mm-hmm.
to keep the energy going. And even when my job was extremely physical, that was what kept me going, was doing something physical
Mm-hmm.
before that. And people misunderstand the benefits for our mental. 10 minutes
So tell me a little
is
bit more about,
huge.
if people misunderstand that, what is it that we should understand about it?
Well, I think that we think, oh, if I'm doing a physical job, then I don't need to exercise. I don't need to move my body. But actually, by moving your body and, exercising, and maybe you're not a morning person that likes to exercise, maybe it's in the afternoon, whatever time is best for your body. But moving your body is going to give you more energy and a calmer mind. I mean, and it's huge. It's huge. If I miss that for too many weeks, I'm like, something's wrong. Something's
Mm-hmm.
off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I get myself into habits and then I get out of the habit and I don't realize I got out of the habit. I think I skip one day and that one day is it. And suddenly I'm like, when did I last do that? I used to do this thing. I don't even remember what that thing was. And it's just so easy to fall off of that. Marcus says, and this is brilliant, Marcus. Marcus says, we don't find time, we allocate time. And I think that that's something we need to remember. We only have so much time. And so, how can we allocate what time we have? I think that there's a life lesson in there, just a note to how we spend our lives in general, right? We only have so much time. How do you want to allocate that time? Thank you for that language,
Yeah.
Marcus. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. Really
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah. That was a
And
great
it's true
reminder.
because we think, oh, it's like, I have to do all these things. So, what can you automate? What can you delegate? What
Mm-hmm.
can you take away and off your plate so that you can do the other things? But, we were talking about 10 minutes. If you did 10 minutes every day, you're a master in a year. I mean, think of the hours that adds up. We always talk about the small things. Oh, I don't know. It's going to take forever if I do these small things to get where I'm going. But actually, those small things add up really, really fast. And there was someone I was listening to, and they were saying, if you wanted to play a musical instrument and you practice 13 minutes every day for a year, you're a master. You're improved. So anything you spend just
Mm-hmm.
a small amount of time is going to, in a year, you're going to see a huge improvement.
The other thing, and I just heard this recently, this is me cruising Instagram, but if you work on something honestly for, like you said, like 5, 10, some number of minutes a day, every day for a year, you're ahead of anybody else who only does it periodically or who hasn't picked it up at all. And we do, so there are a lot of like distinctions in this conversation. Like, we think that we need to be an expert, like a level 10 at something. But honestly, if you get to a level 3 or 4, you're already ahead of almost everybody else. You're already, and that's only if we're playing the comparison game here. When it comes to ourselves, just in ourselves, we expect that we need to become a 10 at whatever we're doing. And that's when like I said, I got sick and I'd float around 8. Every day I was either running or riding or swimming, sometimes both, sometimes 2, every now and then all 3. And every now and then I'd be like, I should take a day off. It's been a while since I have. I should just take a day off and rest. And that day I'd still have to go for a walk just because I was like, I was so used to moving, right? A body in motion stays in motion. But when I got sick and it stopped dead, because I couldn't breathe when I got sick, so it like stopped. It was really, I've never quite gotten back there. And there's this expectation of 10 when that's the shift. I need to be okay with 3. And what happens is I don't get past 3, and so I get upset instead of being like, hey, look at me, I'm at 3. That's what I hear us talking about.
Well, yeah, and I think too, your brain, like you're used to that.
Mm-hmm.
That was the control thing that you had. And so now you're adjusting that. But if you actually wrote down how you felt when you first started getting back to moving your body and how
Mm-hmm.
you feel now, I bet you see a huge improvement. Now, no, it's not your hour workout, and no, it's not 2 workouts a day, and it looks completely different. But we can't measure anything. We're not going backwards, we're going forward.
Yeah.
And you're going to be better for it, and
Yeah.
probably in better shape as you go along.
Yeah. And leaning into the expectation, right? It's not just the story we tell ourselves, but the expectations we set for ourselves. And this all has to shift, I think. It just has to.
Yeah,
Sure.
the expectation is the greatest source of
Mm,
man's unhappiness.
I'm with you on
So
that. Um, I just,
the more we expect of ourselves, we're
mhm,
more unhappy.
mhm.
If we can hold it loosely or
Yeah.
not put those rules on ourselves, we're going to
Yeah.
be happier.
I am a huge fan of holding something loosely, right? This program, right? I'm here most Thursdays. I usually have, my plan is to be here most Thursdays and usually have somebody to interview. Sometimes I'll be here alone, or sometimes I won't be here at all. But most of the time, holding it loosely, we're going to be here, talking to somebody, and hopefully they're as inspiring as this conversation with you, because I've seriously had some mental shifting. I want to know in the audience. We've got Cheryl. We've got at least Cheryl, Sarah, and Marcus here still. Can you tell us what's your takeaway, or what shift are you noticing from this conversation that you're like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way? Because this is what's important, is that we take these things away and do something with it, and at least learn something that we can then apply. So I'd love to know what takeaway each of you is having with this. And Cheryl said, I put this up before, but I thought it was hilarious because I hear you. Because I hear you. Cheryl hasn't moved that much since she was 6. So, and it's funny that for me, that was like how I used to de-stress, and I had to learn how to manage my stress without having that output. And I'm loving this. You don't need an hour. You just need 10 minutes. What can you do in 10 minutes? That's a huge takeaway. So, anything else, Cheryl, that you want to share with us that would be helpful for what we're talking about here?
I think it's just challenging what you believe, challenging
Mm-hmm.
what your thoughts are. And like, why do I believe that? Why do I believe it has to be that way?
Mm-hmm.
Can I think of it maybe in a different way? And what small thing can I start to believe today?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you have to like wholeheartedly jump in, but what's that one small thing I can believe today? And where can I come back into my body? And we are talking about the breath, but also just putting your hand on your heart and
Mm-hmm.
listening to your heart beating. And just remember, like if you're deciding to do something like meditation, the thoughts don't stop coming, just like your heart doesn't stop beating. So those, get out of here, because
Mm-hmm.
here is no, there are no answers. Your
Mm-hmm.
body, the answer is there. And being really gentle with yourself
Mm-hmm.
um, when you're having a hard day.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Um, and the other thing that you were talking about, listening to your heart, feeling your heartbeat, and we were talking before about haptics, your fingers. I took there's a program about positive thinking that I took not too long ago, and we were doing some of those more sense-based meditation things. And one of the things that they had us do, and I'm telling you about this because it really worked for me, um, for listening, listen to the farthest thing away that you can, and spend some time just listening to that just kind of really, for me, worked out. Different things work for different people. Some people prefer that physical thing just works, like you're saying, the heartbeat works. For me, listening is away as far as I could, and then listening as close as I could, which would be ultimately your breath, really just kind of brought me to center, which is an amazing
Right, which is
place.
present. It's really what we're trying to do is because if you're overwhelmed and you're stressed, it's typically because we're living in the future. We're not even
Ah,
in this moment right now. We're going, oh my gosh, I got to get this done for blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, I have all these things that are happening. We're totally not in our present body in the present moment.
that's huge. Yeah, that's why it works, right? So self-care, you know, is focused on taking care of us, but also, I guess, grounding us and just helping us feel centered, then, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah, walk outside without shoes on. I
I'm
mean,
totally going
my
outside
gosh,
today.
a couple of minutes of that is amazing.
Nice, nice, nice. I asked our audience what their takeaways are. We've got some really good ones that I want to share here. We've got Marcus. Little things count and will add up is his takeaway, which is brilliant. Cheryl, I tell my clients that it's useless to compare ourselves to others. We all have our own path to walk, and it's not exactly like anyone else's path. Amen, Cheryl. Amen. That is
Yes,
spot on.
yes,
And
yes, yes.
I was even doing that during this conversation. It's so easy to roll into, I think that again is the, instead of focusing on outside, focusing on inside, I think is another, piece of what that looks like. And Sarah was agreeing that little things count and add up because it accrues. And she said, like GID, which is Get It Done, which is a program I run occasionally that Sarah has been in, which is absolutely coming up very soon, actually. Maybe very soon. I haven't put the schedule in, but I'm thinking about it. And Sarah also said, coming back into my body would be huge. Yeah, I think, especially because Sarah is an artist. So that kind of
Mm.
centering would actually, I would imagine, serve her art and her ability to focus and to express herself that way.
Yeah, she has to go, and grab those creative juices. And if she's stressed and overwhelmed,
Yeah.
she can't tap into that. But there's another really extremely relaxing thing is to watch someone painting,
Yeah.
is to, have that. It's like, oh my gosh, or drawing,
Mhm.
doodling. I mean, those things are very, very calming.
Yeah, no, I agree. Having watched Sarah
Yes.
online do that, yeah, it can be incredibly calming to get into the, oh my gosh, how does somebody do that kind of a place? And it does. It centers you. It gets you in the moment, and it stops you thinking about the future.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. I like that. Cheryl, this has been incredibly helpful. I actually going to say any last things you want to pop in here before I close this up?
I can't think it's been fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always great to talk to you because, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy talking to you as well. And this was what I really really like is I went into this conversation as I'm always going to do with, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what I think. I suspect they'll say something like this, and you've just blown me away with ideas that I'm like, I did not see this conversation going in that direction at all. And I think that that's
That's what's
brilliant.
fun. That's what's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, that's totally fun, and that's the joy of this, which is why I want to have to do this as interviews. And Cheryl, I hope you'll join us again sometime in the future. It was great having you here, so thank you.
Thanks. I would love to come back. I'm a fan of yours.
Yay! Well, I'm a fan of yours, so that works out. We can be the mutual love club. Can you tell us where we can find you online so that people can go find what you do?
Sure. You can go to my website, which is CherylWolfWellness.com, and
Mhm.
find all the information there. I
Fantastic.
look forward to meeting you if I don't know you.
Fantastic. And I think you have a free resource there as well.
I do.
Okay.
7 easy ways to kickstart your weight loss after 40.
Nice.
And I have a YouTube channel that's just starting up. So lots of good things.
Fantastic. Well, we'll definitely be looking for you there and looking to have you here again really, really soon. Some last comments here. First of all, that Sarah's sitting on a gold mine with doing art and keeping the rest of us calm. Cheryl French loves all of Cheryl's reminders to do small things often. Sarah says that meditation really helps me to tap into creativity. So fantastic. And Cheryl French, I got to bring this one on. Cheryl says that she is a fan of us both. And Cheryl, we are a fan of you. So that just works out. This is a group love club, and I like it. So, all right, my friends, thank you for being here. Thank you, Cheryl, so much for being here. I appreciate you. So, all right, everyone. Not next Thursday, but the Thursday after that. I'll be seeing you then. You'll hear about it. Until then, have a wonderful life, and coming up on the weekend, take care of yourself. Talk soon.